All right, hi everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am Dr. Yolanda Lover, or Yoli, and I want to welcome you to the Emerging Leaders Information Fall Session Kickoff. So I want to start with the timeless proverb that I know you probably all heard. Give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. So that's what this saying captures the essence of our program, which focuses on empowering you guys with skills and knowledge needed to thrive in your leadership roles, in your own, even in your own personal experience. So over the next hour, you'll have the opportunity to hear firsthand testimonies from our alumni, gain understanding about our program's impact, and we'll answer any questions that you may have. So by the end of the session, we hope you feel inspired to go ahead and submit your application, talk with your team, your supervisor, and tell how impactful this will be to your career journey. Before we get deep into our discussion, I want to introduce our team on the call. We have Kayla Dix, who's our recruitment and alumni relations manager. She's been with Focus for about 5 years, and she helps support the Emerging Leaders Program as of this year. She is an incredible body of knowledge, and we're so happy to have her be engaged with this program. We also have our leader, CEO, President Dr. Yemi Akande Barch, who's been with Focus for over 10 years. And she's an incredible, amazing leader, not only at Focus, but in our St. Louis community as a whole. So, Yemi, could you please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey and the history with Focus?
All right. Thank you for inviting me to join you here at the orientation. I almost feel like I'm using my journalism and mass communication degree today because I am all over St. Louis. I'm actually getting ready to go into a chamber meeting in about 15 minutes, but wanted to have the opportunity to join you, tell you a little bit about Focus's history. We have a collective history of 50 plus years. At one point, we were 2 separate nonprofits, and then someone had the bright idea that Leadership St. Louis and Confluence St. Louis should come together a little bit close to maybe 30 years ago. And ever since, we've added additional programs such as our Youth Leadership St. Louis program for youth, for juniors in high school. We also have this program that I'm talking with you about, Emerging Leaders. We have our Women in Leadership program. And then we have our Experience St. Louis program, which is for new executives in town, and Leadership St. Louis, which I also serve as the director for, which is a 9-month leadership program for C-suite executives to learn about the issues, the challenges, the opportunities for our region. Every year, we graduate close to 300 plus leaders in our community. We believe that everyone comes imbued with leadership attributes and capacity. And we have 11,000 alums. There isn't a place that you will go that you will possibly not run into either a Focus alum or friend. And I have to say, I stepped in and out of this program, either doing introductions, sitting through a program day, meeting some of our alums, and it has really helped me immerse myself in all things St. Louis, but also all things in the bi-state region. We have alums that are always looking to be catalysts for positive change, either in their professional lives or either in their community lives. And many of them you'll get to meet should you decide to apply for this program. And we hope you will apply for this program. And leading this program is Dr. Yuli Alvar, who some of you have met one-on-one, and the rest of you, you're yet to meet her. And she has guided this program since fall of last year. Yuli, I feel like I blinked and I could almost say 5 years or so. But I have been with Focus since 2012, and I just continue to meet leaders where they are to educate them.
Did we lose you?
Each other so they can continue to not just professionally develop themselves, but to be catalysts. Am I frozen?
Hello. Technical difficulties or challenge. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you better now.
Yoli, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Did
Now-
everyone hear it? Like that?
We heard all the meat of what you had to say. The final thoughts you just had about your experience after 12 years. You kind of broke up.
Okay. My experience after 12 years is phenomenal. There isn't a place that I would go that I do not run into Focus alums. And I'm sure I will see many of you in community over the summer or attending any number of our events. We have our What's Right with the Regen event, which it's a great place to meet 500 plus new friends and get connected and immersed in our community. So now I'm going to say I'm radioing back to you, Yoli.
Thank you, Dr. Akande Barch. As you can see, we have a devoted leader. She's stepped out of another meeting to introduce herself to you and tell us a little bit about the program. So we're gracious. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
we appreciate your support.
Awesome. And find me on LinkedIn. It's the easiest place to reach me. So have a great session, and I am going to dash back into this meeting. I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you, Yoli.
Thank you. So as you guys all heard from Dr. Akande Barch, we have a rich history in the St. Louis community. We're going to go over the emerging leaders slide to talk about our mission. So our mission is to provide diverse leaders with the civic awareness and powerful connections needed to collaborate and be change makers and advance a thriving region for all. Those of you who are on the call, I know you're probably all actively involved in the St. Louis community. You can see that we are really moving in the direction of economic growth, which is exciting. And it's absolutely a great time to spend your leadership, growing your leadership skills to network with folks who are really change agents in the community. So our Emerging Leaders program is designed for mid to early or early to mid career professionals. We want folks who are passionate about growing your leadership and being really engaged and involved in the community. It ranges from about 3 to 6 months, but there are 6 days of training and seminar programming. And outside of those seminar days, you'll spend about 15 hours doing a civic action project with a nonprofit that will partner with Focus. And our alumni will tell you more about that. It is really a rewarding experience and a great way to see how the St. Louis nonprofits are really fostering growth in our area. So more to come about that. What we want you to take away is for you to gain a deeper understanding of your core values. As leaders or as individuals, we have our own value systems, right? Sometimes we forget to drive and utilize that same passion that we have in our own lives, our own personal lives, to drive our leadership. So that's really, it's your value system is centered around a lot of the training that you'll see in the Emerging Leaders program. And then we want to increase your growth mindset. So increase the way that you think about issues, problem solving, which really helps aid you in diversifying your leadership style and gaining, friendships and networking with professionals from all various capacities. As you'll hear later on, you'll really see that Focus is all of our programs really aim to foster connectivity. And you have folks from, the Federal Reserve to people who are nonprofits folks who are entrepreneurs, medical field. You know, you have a diverse set of people that you'll engage with that you may not have often had the opportunity to do so. So that's a great added benefit. What you can expect, you know, so each fall and spring, the class is governed by myself. So I facilitate all the training and programming. I really try to get the young leaders involved by doing that. So we have leadership roles in the classroom and places to even serve outside of the seminar days. And then we bring in expert panelists. So when we have themes, so our upcoming theme for tomorrow's programming day is how to effectively network. And so we're bringing various people in to help cultivate and facilitate on the effectiveness of networking. And that's where you get access to people that you may not necessarily have had in your circle to, you know, get mentors and sponsorships. So that's exciting aspect of our programming days. This cohort, we've centered our training about being the narrator of your own story. So telling your own story, being a leader and showing up as the leader that your journey has done thus far. So we've talked about how to cultivate that, what to use, what kind of you know, tactics you can use to combat cognitive dissonance in the workplace, how to engage more with regional issues, enhance your communication skills, and then again, forging those connections with fellow leaders, not only in the classroom, but outside. So our next screen, you'll see that is those dates. That will correlate to the dates that we have for this upcoming fall program. They're on our website. This cohort will have a kickoff with a mixer. So we'll start off kind of mingling, getting to know one another for a couple hours. And then we have 3 full days of programming and 3 half days of programming. That includes a presentation of your civic action projects, which are exciting. Could you get the people that you partner with to come in, and sometimes folks from the community will come and look to see about the work that you've done and put together. So make sure you talk out these days with your leader and your team, if you have a team, so they can be aligned with what we have to offer in the fall. So again, you know, this is just reiterating that you're going to get awesome exposure to a variety of leaders, increasing your skills. I really want to go ahead and get our panelists to chatting with you about their experiences and what they've done in the program. So I think we have everyone on. Everyone's on, our panelists.
Yes.
Right? Perfect. Okay. We're grateful to have our former emerging leaders that were in our program year last cohort. I was honored to be the facilitator and leader for these young people. So we're grateful that you're here. I want you to introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself, and tell us what brought you to participate in this program. And we're going to start with you, Chelsea.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alvalor. I'm so happy to be here to speak to you all today. First off, even considering becoming an emerging leader in St. Louis is such a great starting off point. I don't know, the backgrounds of everyone here, but what stood out to me so much about emerging leaders was that it was a great mixture of individuals. It was people who are from St. Louis and who have grown up here. It was people from outside of the state. It was people from outside of the city. It was people who left and they came back. So this amalgamation of all of these different perspectives and life experiences really helped create such a vast and meaningful experience for me. But that's getting ahead of myself. So I'm Chelsea Filber, and I'm a business analyst and program manager for a team called Technology Risk Management at MasterCard. And I moved to St. Louis from Seattle in February of last year. So I've been here just over a year. And I was really looking for ways to get civically involved in St. Louis. So Dr. Alvalor talked earlier about economic growth. This is a pillar at MasterCard, so it's really something that I wanted to lean into and learn more about economic growth specifically in this region. So through many conversations with mentors at MasterCard, and just speaking to people that I trusted, who had the same values as me, that's what really led me to Focus STL and to the Emerging Leaders cohort. And this one stood out to me specifically because of the focus on the context and the history and the current climate of St. Louis. And so this group, like I said earlier, is so diverse, and it includes people from all walks of life and all kinds of different experiences and backgrounds. And so that was very valuable for me, and a big reason why I chose to go with Emerging Leaders.
Perfect. That was a great intro and a wonderful commercial for our organization. We're so gracious to have you in the St. Louis community, and happy that you were able to join us. How about you, Hannah? Can you give us a spill about who you are and why you joined our program?
Of course. Hard to follow up on that introduction. That was pretty much explained the program so perfectly. My name is Hannah Talley. I currently serve as the city clerk of Orson Woods, Missouri in St. Louis County. And I previously, at the time I had applied for the program, I was working at the St. Louis County Election Board. And my former boss, who was the director of elections, had just completed the Leadership St. Louis program. And he had recommended that I apply for the Emerging Leaders, and I did, and it was a great program. And yeah, being a young professional in St. Louis, it's a great way to get connected with other young professionals who are civically minded and want to improve on their leadership skills.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hannah. You added a little flavor to the mix, so I appreciate that. Curtis, how about you? And then Dr. Jordan, we'll let you wrap us up.
Well, I'll just see if I can add anything at all to those intros. But my name is Curtis Griggs. I am now a project manager for SLDC. At the time that I worked or was going through the Focus cohort, I still am a multimedia consultant for my own business that I run. I ended up in Focus actually because I was working on a project with someone who was running for a school board in Ferguson, Florissant, who was a former member of the Focus cohort. And as we were just kind of talking about passions and how I was looking to get more civically involved with community, kind of getting back out into the street, kind of learning, what organizations are out there and who's doing what. He suggested that I come through Focus and do this cohort. And he was like, he told me at the time, he's like, I can't explain to you in words how impactful the experience is. And to be perfectly honest, even throughout the cohort, it was really hard for me to almost understand the feeling that I got because I was around so many like-minded people. And I oftentimes refer to it as almost like an adult SGA, like in college or high school, because we were challenged in ways to kind of utilize the skills that we had learned professionally that maybe we hadn't even realized we learned. But to kind of go through those exercises, to go through those sessions and listen to the people and get information from so many different avenues in St. Louis, it was truly monumentous. And of course, the happy hours, just getting to know and meet one another, learning how we can connect with each other in certain roles and even outside of our roles professionally. It was totally awesome. And it's true. It's almost crazy. Everywhere I go, if you mention that you were in Focus, there is somebody there that was in one of the cohorts. That is absolutely the truth.
Absolutely. Thank you. You added some flavor and some spice. And it's that conversation starter that just connects people with our organization. As you said, you turn your head and oh, Yoli, you work at Focus now. I went to Focus. I'm an alum. So great input. And Jordan, just kind of wrap us up on welcome on your experience.
Yes, so I am Dr. Jordan Norday. I'm the pharmacist in charge at RX Outreach Community Pharmacy, and we work in partnership with ARCA, which is Assisted Recovery Centers of America, providing substance use and mental health disorders treatment for patients in the area. And it's so funny. When I was in the Focus program, I was at Affinia Healthcare and I was the clinical pharmacist there. And that was a fantastic experience. I thought I wasn't going anywhere. And we call it the focus effect, that now I am in a new job and I was like, oh no, I'm good. I'm not leaving. And then December, I interviewed for a new position and here I am. So, and then many of the friends that I have within the Focus cohort have similar experiences. Curtis, for example, we're, in new positions having come from that. So definitely, never say never, because there are a lot of changes that can come once you sort of go into this program. And it just really opens your eyes to all of the possibilities and just sort of changes your mindset about what some of those different opportunities could look like here in the region.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. J. And I just want to say, thank you for all of you adding a little different spice and flavor on what you took from this program. I know that Hannah and Curtis now are classmates. They're pursuing a higher degree, and so, now they have study buddy partners as a result of sharing this experience together. So I want to ask you guys some individual questions, but before I go to that, who wants to share their experience about their civic action project? If you can articulate what that means, what was it? Tell us how your involvement kind of helped and impact your growth as a leader. And Curtis, you talked a little bit about community involvement being extremely important for you selecting this program. How about we start with you, and then whoever else wants to dive in, please do so.
For sure, that's fine. I have a particularly unique experience with the cohort experience and the project, the Civic Action Plan. The company that did my Civic Action Plan is actually the company that I work for now during the cohort program. One of the champions that was responsible for kind of, guiding us through our project resigned from his position. And just through, I guess, the work and the way that the program was kind of designed to have us engaged with each of the projects. It's like you all specifically looked at our skill set, you specifically looked at our backgrounds, and when you all placed us with our particular projects, at first, I think we all might have had kind of like why would they put me in this cohort group?
Right.
But as we started to do the work, and as you all taught us how to learn and how to lean on our individual leadership skills and strengths outside of our positions and outside of our roles, I think it just kind of like fit like a hand, like it really just fit like a glove in hand. And so I ended up applying for the job because the other person, who was Caressa Davis, who's also an alumni member, she was like, I think you should apply. I think you should apply for that role. And honestly, prior to doing this program, even though my resume looked the same, I didn't look at my resume the same way. So going through the program and doing those exercises and, those sessions where we're doing projects where you're asking us to, I remember we did one, I think it was about capital, where you were asking us to look at what, if you needed to do something right now, Who could you depend on? Who could you depend on for funds? Who could you depend on for human capital to come out and support you? What is your network and what is your resource like? And I think, like Jordan said, it's the focus effect. Once you kind of learn, it's like you guys kind of almost teach us a new way to reframe how we look at ourselves as leaders and how we look at our skill set. So yeah, the civic action plan, it was perfect. I mean, of course, for me, it led me to the job that I do now, which is working in civics. I'm a project manager for Project Connect, which is the 6 neighborhoods that surround the NGA project that's coming to St. Louis. So we are all, literally my job, I tell people right now, I'm like, my personal role is to teach people civic literacy and bring the communities and neighborhoods that need help to stabilize and to protect themselves against some of the disparities that we've gone through historically. That is my role, to link us in and to move those communities better. So I don't think I could have asked for a better outcome from Focus STL, or from the experience, than that. So it was perfect. I as we went through the end of as the program, I was like, wow, you guys, you could see how much thought you guys put into the people that you all chose, the way that you all placed us, the sessions that we went through. It's designed to the point that you will grow and you will develop. So it was awesome for me. Thank
you, Curtis. So glad that you are with that organization, so passionate about the work you do. Thank you. Who else? Did anybody else want to share their experience about our civic action projects?
I'll just go briefly. So Curtis and I were actually on the same team for our CAP projects. And for me, it was just how much I learned. Curtis is very knowledgeable about that particular area, and you could see like his passion and things like that. But then it was also our team and our group members that had so many additional things to share. And I loved how we all had such different perspectives, which brought us to the ultimate project that we were able to present. And, you know, I'm looking at it from a health disparities perspective, and Jimmy's looking at it from a, financial perspective. And Abby's like, no, we have to have our KPIs in order, and just all of those things, how we're just always very able to lean on each other, like you said, in order to come up with the best possible plan for our sponsors. And it was really such a cool experience. Like he mentioned, just all of the sessions and the networking that's available, and just meeting people. One of my favorite terms that I got from there was your personal board of directors. And so since then, I've sort of been on this hunt to sort of figure out who are those people. And there's just so many like different things that are presented to you, and then it's your job and opportunity to go and figure out how to answer those questions for yourself, and see how they fit and apply to your life. But it's such a cool program because it really does expand your mind. And even if you, so like, for example, one of our cohort members is, I think he was in his late 40s, or yeah, so he was older than a lot of us, is right. Right, completely. Just, yeah, definitely. So most of us, sort of, you think early career professionals, and it was just exciting to see that emerging leader can span beyond just your age and where you are in your career. And it's just exciting because there's so many different, again, perspectives that come up within the CAP project, and ways that you can learn about things that you may have you've heard of before, but maybe you didn't really know the full story. So it was definitely an awesome learning opportunity.
Love that. Thank you, Dr. J. That cognitive diversity, so learning from other people who are not only not in your field or your discipline, but don't share the same life experience. So that's great testimony to what this collaborative focus seminary program can do. We're gonna go ahead and switch it up to the individual questions, and I'm gonna hit on you, Hannah. Hannah, what was the fun factor of the program for you? what was so, we're great. We're talking about the networking and that can be fun, of course. And, you're developing and learning more about yourself as a leader, but what was fun? What did you think was the fun factor?
Yeah. Well, obviously the whole program was fun. But it was mentioned, of course, after every cohort meeting, we had what was the title? A social or social coordinator, social president, who would pick a location near where our meeting was, and we would go to happy hour and hang out with our fellow cohort members, which is always fun. And it's a relaxed, fun way to get to know each other and network. And I also had an example of in my CAP project group, one of the members is also like me. He works in local government, and he has what he calls a local government dinner club, I believe. So it's just fun that the cohort breaks down into each, I guess, sector of their jobs, if that makes sense. And so that was just a fun way. And I know other people in the cohort have other clubs and organizations that they do similar things. So lots of fun ways to network and connect with people in the cohort and others that they know as well.
That's cool. I like that. I think you're mentioning one of the other workers, and you guys also just got, although you were in the same discipline, I remember you were like, oh, I didn't see things like, I didn't see things from that perspective, or we don't deal with those kind of challenges in my district. So
Right.
yeah, that's cool. And that leads me to you, Chelsea. Where was a time where you were like, wow, I just never thought of it like that before, or, an interaction that made it stand out to you? Yeah.
Dr. Alvalor, it's so funny that you mentioned this, because as I was kind of thinking through all of the different conversations that we had throughout the 4-month emerging leaders cohort experience, there were so many different experiences that had popped up to me. So kind of the way that I think about our experiences in the emerging leaders group was through the different locations that we were cited at. So we were lucky enough to sort of experience all types of different nonprofit organizations, companies, all kinds of different things in person and on the ground, and really have these conversations in the places that action is taking place. And so that is sort of one of the things that really stood out to me, and how I kind of compartmentalize each of the different conversations that we had. So one in particular that really pops out to me is the one that we had at Ameren, which was an economic development leadership fireside chat discussion. The way that it sort of played out was it started as a discussion on why St. Louis is an appropriate or fruitful place for companies to, lay the bricks down and to start up, and why St. Louis is sort of a vortex of talent and geographic location, and how all these things work together for a company to be really successful. But as we started sort of continuing on this conversation, I think almost all of the panelists were nonprofit organizers or employees, partners. And the conversation kind of evolved as we were asking questions and as we were interacting with one another. The conversation evolved to sort of seeing nonprofits in St. Louis from a different perspective and through a different lens. And so I think many of us often think of a nonprofit and think about all the ways that they help those who they're serving. And that's always how I viewed nonprofits. What are the things that they're focusing on, and how can I integrate that into the problems that I'm trying to solve? But what the conversation led to was the other side of that. What are the operations, and what are the things that are going on behind the scenes that we don't often see? And what are those struggles? What do they look like? How are we providing an environment where we can support and nurture nonprofits to grow? And we heard so many different explanations about how that looks like from the other side. What are those struggles? Things that were really brought to light that we can help fund through, what Curtis mentioned, that human aspect of interaction and who you can lean on for help when you need it. So finding ways that we can not only help the nonprofit organizations meet the needs of the people that they're serving, but also how can we help the nonprofit leaders fulfill that gap? There are so many things and there's so many barriers to entry. And what are the ways that we can lean in to really support one another and make sure that all of these nonprofits thrive in the way that they were meant to?
Well, thank you for sharing that, because it is a very different world when you think of corporations and nonprofit organizations. They're typically run very differently, and the challenges and strengths are vast, often just really different. So, you coming from MasterCard and then being able to see that world, and then, imparting that into the training aspect, you explained it so well on how things can just shift your perspective. So thank you for sharing that experience. And I do remember that day very vividly. I thought it was
shifting perspective and shifting, topic almost. I think that there was an initial, and that's what I love about emerging leaders, is that we have an initial sort of outline of what the conversation will be, but the beautiful thing about it is that it evolves and everyone's perspectives kind of collide, and then we have this fruitful, valuable conversation that we didn't expect, and that's sort of the exciting part.
Didn't Chelsea just outline the effectiveness of a good leader on how you're able to pivot and move and kind of shift and changing focus? So good feedback. Thank you for that. Dr. J, I'm going to go to you. You talked a little bit about this, but maybe you can elaborate more on unexpected connections. You kind of talked about that with your civic action project, but can you share just maybe an encounter or a conversation that you had during the program that shifted your eyes to new possibilities? I know that you have a nonprofit that you run yourself. So, if that can want to talk about that or.
Yeah, definitely. So the favorite thing that I got out of Focus was the connection. That was really, you meet so many people, and connection in the sense of people, right? But also connection to the city, connection to the different businesses and organizations that exist, and getting to go into I forget the name of the law office, but we got to go to the law office and be on their top floor. And that was like the coolest thing to me. And so it's a lot of getting to experience places that you've driven around or parked by or walked by, but never really got to see what happens on the inside. And so that was one of the things that I really enjoyed, just feeling like you had a connection to some of the things that are the inner workings of the city. And then in addition, like we mentioned before, connection to the people. So your fellow cohort members, people such as Dr. Avalor, people such as our speakers and panelists. I went up to one of our panelists after the Big Brothers Big Sisters event, and just talked to her. I was like, you were really speaking to something that I feel like I've been sort of struggling with. And we created just a relationship, and had lunch, coffee one day after that, and really just spoke. And that was Dr. Nicole Red, and she's just been phenomenal as being part of, just again, my personal board of directors. And just, we have I think eventually after the program ends, you kind of break off with who you were closest with at the end. And just being able to say, I have people that get me, that understand me, that think like me, that have similar experiences as me, and we've been able to meet in an environment where we were intentionally trying to learn and grow together. And so I think that has been my favorite part about Focus is you're going to meet people that will change your life for the good. You're going to experience places, things, and ideas that you maybe would have never considered. You will, one of my, as Curtis said, you're going to meet so many people that are like, I'm a Focus alum. And one of my, at my previous role, she was our new COO, and she said, Focus is transformative. And I would ask her, like, what about it? It just is. It's transformative. And I couldn't understand why she couldn't really like articulate it very well. But after going through the program, I was like, oh, I see. It's there are reasons, but you really sometimes you can't quite put a finger on why it is that you feel this way. So it's very, very positive experience, very connected. And I will just share this briefly. I've been ready to go since I graduated high school, or since I graduated college. I was like, I'm out of St. Louis. And one of the things as we started going through the program and learning more about, again, about the city and about the businesses that exist, I was like, okay, I'm pulling at my heartstrings a little bit. I guess I might stick around a little bit longer. So I am still here, and looking for looking forward to seeing what other opportunities exist. But definitely 10 out of 10 recommend.
We're glad to have you, and please don't give up yet. You got so much more work to do here at Dr. J. So thank you. Curtis, we're gonna wrap it up with you. You're already naturally very creative. You really, so Curtis was one of our leaders in the cohort, and he really kept us focused a lot, and you did it in a creative manner, so don't use that one. But if you could think of any session that sparked your creativity in a way that you didn't anticipate, Chelsea's example was pretty accurate and a representative of just a different pivot of looking at an idea or concept. Can you share with the group?
Yes, for sure. I think probably the most impactful one that really affected me, and I think it's because so many of the speakers we had similar experience as business owners, I think it was our final retreat with Shannon Durio, Julio Suarez, I think his name was John, I forget his last name. But I remember specifically John was talking about starting his kind of marketing advertising firm and like some of the struggles that they went with. And I even asked a question specifically about, because at the time, again, and I still do my own consulting firm. And so we were talking about kind of like almost knowing and valuing your worth, and how do you, when you're closing deals and you're doing this work and you know that you're valuable, how do you set your price? How do you stand firm on your values? And I really was kind of like almost at a stone wall there. So it was almost kind of like as they were talking about their experiences and the challenges that he had with starting this firm, doing the work pro bono, getting, contacts with these giant programs and giant opportunities. It really helped me as he kind of talked about the steps and processes and the things that he did to start to value the work that he was doing. And I instantly took that. And then the creative part that I would say was Shannon, because she actually, which we have met up after the program, she put me into the idea of like, well, did you know about the Grant Association in St. Louis? That you can go to these events, you can sit at roundtables, and you can find opportunities so you can learn to write yourself instead of you trying to go by yourself and not having a group of people or not having a team of people. You can learn to connect. And that's something that it was an out of the box idea. And I love those type of things. Like I would never think to join an association of grant writers that have forums where they're talking about the struggles that grant writers have. I already knew that there was a need for digital engagement and digital engagement specialists in this area. And this is a much better way for me to, one, meet a network of people, and two, learn how to better align myself with the work and the needs of this region. And after that, I remember, I think Yoli, actually sent me an email, and you were like, Shannon asked me to connect you with her for this opportunity. And And since then, I've joined the email club and I've been so busy, but I'm like, this is now something that is in my personal arsenal and my personal tool or personal tools that I use, that I can rely on, that I can lean on, whether it's to strengthen my own skills or partner together. I think Jordan, I remember the session that Jordan was talking about, because again, me and Jordan were in the same group together. And then you just talk to so many people, and it was very interesting. It seemed like there were a number of us that, whether it's because we were just like the youngest person in our group or the only person in our role, whether it be the only woman in the role, the only person of color in our role, the youngest person at our organization, where the first time that this role is done, I learned that a lot of us kind of felt singular in a weird way. Sometimes we felt like we didn't have anyone else to rely on. And I was saying that to Jordan because I remember she was sharing some of the struggles that she had, with her role. And I remember her and the panelists were kind of like, it was just like the panelist was pouring directly into her. And Jordan was just like, yes, that's the same way I felt talking to Julio and Shannon and Julius, when they were just talking about the things that they did and the struggles that they had and how they overcame them. I was like, this day is perfect for me. And so much of the way that I operate in my role, even now, again, because the focus effect, I got a new role. The way that I operate in my role, I take a lot of those tools and I take a lot of those skills, and those things that we learned from those sessions. But that session, like utilizing the grant association here in St. Louis, has been one of the smartest things that I never even knew it was a thing. So, and the fact again that Shannon specifically wanted, like the people that we met were so happy to meet us. They were looking to give us opportunity. They were looking to connect us in the right places.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciate you and them for all of that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I remember that Shannon was like, Curtis, you're doing all that work for free. Let me hook you up. So yeah, that is a good testimony on how the connections are made. And as you just finished off, the genuineness behind people who really want to see our region grow. Keep our leaders here, and we talk about the age range, but we want that diversity of thought. So, this program is really phenomenal for bringing together people and building community. And those of you who are on the call, I hope that you heard that testament to from our alumni that gave their testimonies on how they like the program. And so we want to hear from you right now. We want to take some questions from you. What do you have for me to ask, before we kind of wrap things up and talk about tuition and other things that go along logistically? What questions do you have for our panelists or for me as in the organization? Anybody on the call?
Sorry, I'm not used to Zoom. I'm used to Microsoft Teams. Hi, my name is Lauren Dunning. I am curious how you balanced your regular 9 to 5 with this program.
Great question. You guys go ahead and take a stab at whoever wants to share.
I will answer that one because that was a slight challenge for me. I remember being the person I think it was our presentation day, and I had clinic that day. So I came to the presentation. I was like, how quick are we going? We ended up being like this first or second group. So we went, we were able to present, and then I had to run back to clinic, and then I came back for happy hour in order to just really get as much of the time. And I mean, you pay your tuition, but the money that's just part of it, but really you're wanting to be present with your peers and all of the sponsors that are there. So I remember a couple of occasions where I was doing the best that I could. I missed a few sessions having to, I think there was a conference scheduled the same day that I had already signed up for and things like that, and just really trying to make it work. I will say overall, if you're able to, your company should pay for it. That's like the best route to go. And so they understand that this is an expectation that you will be present. And so I didn't have any issues with, I just had to tell them like, these are our seminar days, and show up the best that I could. But like my clinic days, I have to be there. So really trying to navigate was a challenge with that. But I would say overall, like you're, and other people can speak to this, but ideally your employer is supportive of the fact that you're going through this program, because it makes them look good to say they have a focus graduate in their amongst their ranks. And it can be challenging, but you really just have to find that way to be flexible.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I think it's an important one to cover. I think it's something that we hadn't talked about yet, really. It's not an easy feat to balance your 9 to 5 and your other responsibilities. If you're a parent, if you're continuing your education, if X, Y, and there's so many different life styles and so many different responsibilities that we all have. So, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there were some days where I was like, oh my gosh, work is so busy right now. I have so many responsibilities. I have deadlines. I have things that I need to be working, past my 9 to 5 on just to meet those deadlines. But every time I was like, oh gosh, I have to leave early today and go to my focus meeting. Once I was there, it felt like a breath of fresh air. It really felt like not necessarily a mental break. It was a different form of mental stimulation, but it felt like a mental break from that 9 to 5 work. So really thinking of it as something that, is an enjoyable experience and something that you'll really learn from, and, going to these sessions, even though you're working overtime on other things, it really is a choice that you have to make at the beginning to say, I know that this is going to take up a lot of my, available or unavailable time, but it's something that will be very valuable for me. And I'm not sure what company you're with, but at MasterCard, we are given 5 volunteer days a year. So they work exactly like PTO days. So we can use those days to transfer to volunteerism. And since Focus STL is a nonprofit, we were able to use those days towards our volunteer days. So that was a very lucky perk for me. But yeah, making that choice, saying, I have all these responsibilities, and knowing that, it will really, really benefit you in the long run, and getting all of this experience is definitely worth it, worth the struggle.
Great question. Who else has a question?
Hi, my name's Allie Wargle. I have a quick question. Thanks to all of you for all of the information and sharing your experiences. It's been really helpful to hear. Just curious, I did see that the application deadline was in June. How quickly once we apply, would we expect to hear, and what does the selection process look like? Is it like, are there interviews or any other commitments that we need to factor in above and beyond just submitting the application?
Right, great question. So for this particular program, it's just you being nominated or you submitting your application yourself. We do like to have a hard stop. And if you have any circumstances where you need to reach out, you can reach out to me personally, but we usually like to have a hard stop in June. Our selection date will be about a week or so later, and then you'll be notified by June 26th. So, we like to stick to a timeline, but what kind of organization would we be if we don't have, openness about some things? The hard stop is the selection date, though. But, if you need to talk to me about June 10th, let me know. Who else
Can
has
I just share a quick story?
Sure.
So when I was originally applying, so I didn't know anything about the program. I found out someone had mentioned Focus to me like years prior, and I was like, okay. And then I was on LinkedIn one day and saw like a focus, somebody had posted something about focus. So I go to the website and I see emerging leaders application deadline June 12th. Well, it was June 9th and it was a Friday. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I'm going to get it. I'm so late. Like I literally like typed my application as quickly as I could. And then June 12th, I submitted and I was super grateful to end up being a part of the program. So I don't really know the point of that, but I just really wanted to share that it works out.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, you know, as Chelsea said, and you all said, we have busy lives, right? And this is going to be an addition to that busy life, but yeah, it's not super hard. Of course, Hannah's an expert in her own right. She's a wonderful writer, as you can see from her title. But you know, yeah, just look it over. If you have any thoughts or questions, I'm always very open, and you can shoot me an email or give me a call, and we can work through any kind of kinks that you may have submitting. Do we have any other final questions?
We have a question in the chat about what is the acceptance rate, or maybe addressing this like selection criteria.
Okay. Statistically, I don't have that information. Let me tell you how we select folks. So we really want to have a cognitively diverse group of people, and that, you know, it encompasses folks' demographics, what sector and industry they come from, how long they've been in their career. Though we have that age range, it's more of, you know, how are you growing and emerging in your career? There are questions. Take those questions seriously. You know, I think I had a few people resubmit because they were nominated, and their questions just didn't align with what we were asking. So just make sure that you take those questions very seriously. And what do you choose to gain from the program? What are you trying to gain? Access is wonderful. Building that community is even better. But personally, what do you aim to get from this program is a critical aspect on, you know, why we select and how we choose people. Let me just go ahead and I'll just embed this in on some of my last final thoughts. So the tuition is $1,000. And as Chelsea said, typically employers pay for all of it or partially, part of the cost. And then we do have scholarship need-based assistance, and details on how to apply for scholarship will be provided upon acceptance into the program. So you should apply expecting to pay if your employer doesn't. But we do have scholarships available. And we do have a lot of corporate sponsors that are on, just check them out, the Kwame Foundation, Ameren, various people in the community that support this because they want to see and know the benefit of growing our leadership in the St. Louis community. Those dates real quickly, June 10th is the application deadline. June 18th, we select, and then the 26th is when you'll be notified. And you'll be notified yay or nay. And we also have a waiting list. So for example, some folks that were on the waiting list last cohort will now consider their application for the fall. And then you have to sign an agreement, and that agreement deadline is July 5th. We'll go back and all of this is being recorded, but it's also on our website. Our program day starts in August and runs through about November. So that's the timeline we have. And I encourage you to talk to your team and your boss to ensure that it aligns with their expectations, because you really want to get every program day you can out of this experience. And so that pretty much takes me to the end of our presentation. Did we have any other questions? Because we have 1 minute and I want our panelists to give us one word, not more than one, Curtis. One word that is describe your experience. And I will go first. I was so inspired, so inspired. I was inspired by these young folks when I had the honor of teaching. Curtis, what's your one word?
My one word is transformative. It was definitely a transformative process experience.
Love it. Hannah?
I would say impactful.
Impactful. Love it. Dr. J? Did Dr. J have to go to clinics, maybe?
Sorry. I said Curtis stole mine. I was gonna say transformative. Is that okay to repeat?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
The word cloud forming. And Chelsea, end us up. What was one word that described your experience?
I think I'll go with the word that I just kept using throughout this whole process, which is just insightful.
Oh,
And take with that what you will. It was a truly insightful experience.
so inspired, insightful, transformative, and impactful. So those of you who are wanting to experience those things and more, please go ahead and get your application started. Reach out to me. My information is in the deck as well as online. As Dr. Yemi said, please connect with us on LinkedIn and connect with our focus group on all our social media sites. And we look forward to seeing you in the fall. And thank you so much, panelists, for showing up today. We appreciate you.